It was a rainy Thursday in Seattle. Josh stood in the kitchen pouring coffee into a cracked white mug. Behind him, Amber's voice carried softly from the living room. She was on a video call with someone she clearly didn't know he could hear. "You were never the one, Josh. Just a backup plan in case Ryan failed." The mug slipped from Josh's hand. It didn't shatter, just landed sideways in the sink with a hollow thud. But something inside him did break. 3 years. 3 years of late-night garage shifts, of fixing her car for free, of showing up at her company parties and pretending to fit in. And now, he was just the backup. He didn't speak, didn't confront her, not yet. He walked out into the rain, no umbrella, just a phone in his pocket and something burning in his chest. He played her words again. Just the backup, not forgotten, not ignored. He saved them. The next morning, he messaged Claire Amber's cousin, the only one who ever looked him in the eye at family dinners, the only one who ever said, "You deserve someone who sees you." That's when the plan began. Not to scream, not to fight, but to show up. Show up on Thanksgiving, at her family's home in Queen Anne, with Claire, hand in hand, and let Amber see exactly what a backup looks like when he walks away. Josh didn't stand out in a crowd. He never tried to. Most days you'd find him under a car hood, grease on his hands, soft rock, playing from a dusty radio. He ran a small auto shop near Green Lake. Nothing fancy, but honest work. Work that mattered. Josh was 29. He'd been in Seattle his whole life. Rain didn't bother him anymore. He liked the quiet. He liked fixing things. Things that could be put back together, even when people couldn't. He lived in a modest apartment above his shop. Every morning at 6:00 a.m., he'd make black coffee and call his mom, a daily habit ever since her stroke 3 years ago. He didn't travel much, didn't party, didn't care about expensive suits or who drove what car, but he cared about people, especially the ones who didn't think anyone did. That's probably what drew him to Amber. She was everything he wasn't. Loud, bright, ambitious, a marketing exec downtown with an eye for style and for control. When she walked into his shop one rainy afternoon with a flat tire and a phone glued to her ear, she barely looked at him, but he looked at her, and somehow she stayed. He thought she saw something in him, someone solid, safe, and maybe she did, just not for the reasons he hoped. Amber walked like she owned every sidewalk in Seattle, head up, heels loud, phone always in hand. She worked in marketing for a boutique tech agency downtown. Her schedule was booked, her nails were perfect, and her standards even higher. She loved attention, not in a loud, needy way, but in the way people paused when she entered a room. She knew exactly how to smile, how to lean in, how to control a conversation without raising her voice. When she started dating Josh, no one really understood it. Her coworkers called him the mechanic boyfriend. She laughed and didn't correct them. "He's sweet," she'd say. Simple. She meant stable, predictable, safe. At first, Josh thought he was just different from her world. But over time, he realized she didn't want different. She wanted better. Her version of better. She didn't like the way he dressed. Bought him new shirts, new shoes. Told him, "You're meeting clients with me, not hanging in a garage." She didn't like his coffee too strong. Didn't like his music too slow. Didn't like his silence too quiet. Every compliment came with a condition. Every smile with a correction. And Josh, he adjusted. He changed. He tried. But some people don't want you to grow with them. They want you to shrink beneath them. And Amber, she was already looking beyond. Claire never tried to stand out. She didn't need to. She taught middle school art in Portland, wore canvas sneakers and vintage cardigans. Her hair was always a little messy, but her smile effortless. Claire didn't care about who made the most money at Thanksgiving dinner. She cared about who brought the pie, and if you stayed late to help clean. The first time Josh met her was 2 years ago. Amber had dragged him to a family birthday party, formal, loud, full of wine talk, and passive digs. Claire found him sitting on the back porch alone. He was drinking ginger ale from a paper cup. She sat down beside him, pulled her knees up to her chest, and said, "You look like someone who'd rather fix the grill than be stuck in this conversation." He smiled. She was right, no judgment, just understanding. From then on, Claire became the only person in Amber's family Whoever asked Josh about his work and actually listened. She'd text him about car trouble, ask about his mom, laugh when he said the radio in his truck only played Springsteen in silence. They never crossed a line, but there was always something there, something unspoken, warm, safe. And sometimes the ones who don't try to take your heart are the ones quietly holding space for it. It started small. Amber's phone always screened down on the table, always buzzing, always locked. At first, Josh didn't think much of it. She was busy. She had clients. She liked her space. But then the laughter came. Soft, unfamiliar. Different than the one she gave him. She'd text late at night, smile at the screen, then slip it into her bag the moment he walked in. Conversations became shorter, dinners quieter. She stopped asking how his day went, stopped caring if he answered. Josh noticed, but he didn't say anything. Not yet. Instead, he cleaned the kitchen a little longer, stayed under cars a little later, thought maybe she was just tired or stressed, or maybe it was him. Maybe he wasn't enough. One night she left her laptop open. He saw a message preview flash across the screen. So, what are you telling him from someone named Ryan? Just that one sentence. No context, no answer. But everything in Josh's gut twisted, and his silence began to feel like surrender. He closed the laptop, turned off the kitchen light, and stood there in the dark, listening to the quiet thrum of betrayal. The next morning, Josh opened his phone to a message from Claire. No text, just a photo. Amber, wineglass in hand, sunglasses pushed up on her head, sitting across from a man in a white button-down. The caption under the Instagram story read, "Weekend reset hash, Napa vibes." Josh stared at it, heart slowing, lungs forgetting what to do. It wasn't the wine. It wasn't the fact she told him she was at a team-building retreat in Bellevue. It was Ryan, the name from that laptop screen, now with a face and a smile. He zoomed in. Amber was leaning in. That laugh, the one he hadn't heard in months, frozen in time for strangers to double tap. Claire texted again. "I wasn't sure if I should send this, but I thought you deserved to know." Josh sat on the edge of his bed, phone in one hand, the other clenched tight. He didn't respond, didn't call Amber, didn't yell. He just whispered, "So it's real." Outside, the rain hit the windows, Seattle's sky gray as ever. But inside Josh, a different kind of storm was forming. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about clarity. Josh waited until Sunday night. Amber walked through the door, carrying takeout and talking on her phone. "No, I'm not telling him yet. Can we just enjoy dinner first?" She paused when she saw Josh on the couch, phone in hand, face unreadable. She hung up slowly. "What's wrong?" Josh stood up. "Where were you this weekend?" She blinked, tilted her head, smiled the way people do when they're about to lie. "Bellevue, team retreat, why?" He held up his phone. The photo Claire sent. Amber, Napa, Ryan. The smile dropped. A beat of silence. Then she said it like it meant nothing. "It's not what you think." Josh didn't flinch, didn't yell. "Then tell me what it is." Amber crossed her arms. Defensive, dismissive. "You're reading into everything. Josh, you're the stable one. That's what I liked. You're dependable." Another pause. Then softly, like she was offering a compliment, "You're the safe choice." Josh felt the floor shift. Safe. As in boring, predictable, replaceable. He swallowed hard. "So I was the plan B." Amber shrugged. "Ryan's different." Josh nodded. Slow, steady. "And now so am I." Amber didn't apologize. Didn't explain. Just walked into the kitchen like the conversation was over. Josh stood still, one hand in his pocket, fingers brushing against something cold. His phone. 3 days ago, after that message from Claire, he started recording, not because he planned to use it, but because a part of him needed proof. Not for court, for clarity. "You're the safe choice." Those words still echoed, but they weren't the worst. He tapped the screen, opened his voice memos, hit play. Amber's voice filled the room. "He's not the one, okay, he's just the backup plan. He's reliable, that's all." Amber froze in the hallway, turned slowly, eyes wide. "You recorded me." Josh didn't answer. She stepped forward, angered now. "That's manipulative." He stayed calm. "No, that's documentation." Her lips parted, searching for words. There were none. I needed to hear it. Not guess, not wonder, just hear it. He looked her in the eye. Now I have. She said nothing. And for the first time, neither did he. No begging, no let's talk. Just silence. And that silence was louder than any scream could have been. That night, Josh couldn't sleep. The apartment felt colder, not from the weather, from the truth now hanging in the air. He got up, walked to the drawer under the bed, and pulled out an old cigar box. Inside, a spark plug from his first rebuild, a photo of him and his mom at the shop, and the letter. Amber had written it 2 months into their relationship. He unfolded the paper slowly, hands shaking just a little. Josh, I know I talk too much. You don't. You listen. You see things no one else sees. You make me feel safe in a way I didn't know I needed. I've always dated loud men, fast men. But you're steady, real, and I think I could fall in love with that. Josh sat back on the edge of the bed, eyes tracing every word. So what changed? Did she outgrow him or forget why she chose him in the first place? He folded the letter, put it back in the box, closed the drawer, and somewhere between midnight and dawn, Josh stopped grieving who she used to be. He started grieving who he became while trying to keep her. Josh was at the garage when Claire called. He almost didn't answer, hands greasy, head full, but something in his gut told him to pick up. Hey, he said, everything okay? Claire hesitated. Not really. He stepped outside. Rain again. Always rain. I wasn't going to say anything, she continued, but I can't keep quiet anymore. Josh braced himself. Amber told Ryan she's planning to end things with you. After Thanksgiving, once the family gathering is over, silence. Josh stared at the wet pavement, listened to the drops hit the hood of a car. She said she just needs to manage the optics, make it look clean, controlled, like you just drifted apart. Josh didn't speak. Claire did. You don't deserve to be discarded like strategy. He let out a breath, not a sigh, a release. Something inside him stopped begging for clarity. It had arrived. Thanks for telling me, he said quietly. Claire paused. If you need anything, I'm here. Josh looked out at the street. A bus rolled past. An old man walked his dog in the mist. For the first time in weeks, Josh didn't feel lost. He felt ready. Josh didn't slam any doors. Didn't pack a suitcase in rage. He made a list. Quiet, focused, deliberate. He marked the days until Thanksgiving. 12. 12 days to end a 3-year lie on his terms. He moved his tools out of the apartment, shifted bank accounts, booked a storage unit in West Seattle. Slow, silent, invisible. Amber never noticed. Too busy texting Ryan. Too busy planning a future she thought he'd never see coming. Josh wasn't planning to yell. Wasn't even planning to explain. He was planning to show up differently. To leave not as the victim, but as the man she misjudged. He looked at Claire's name in his messages. Thumb hovered, then tapped. What are you doing Thanksgiving weekend? 3 dots, then nothing official. Why? He paused, breathed. Would you come with me to the family dinner? This time, the 3 dots didn't last long. Yes. Josh locked his phone, looked in the mirror above his workbench. Same eyes, same jawline, but something was different. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't trying to hold on. He was ready to let go and walk away with someone who saw him. Josh stared at the message. Still there, still marked red. No reply. 10 minutes passed, then 15. His heart beat like he was waiting for a job interview, not an invitation to dinner. Finally, his phone buzzed. Claire, that's a bold ask. He smiled at the screen. Type back, I know. Another pause, then, are you asking to make a point, or because you actually want me there? Josh didn't hesitate. Both. This time her reply came fast. You sure? He stared out the window. Amber would be talking about wedding plans. Ryan would be waiting in the shadows. The whole family expecting fake smiles and pie. I'm sure he typed, I want them to see what real looks like. And then came her final message. Okay, I'll go, but only if I get to bring dessert. Josh laughed for the first time in weeks. Not because something was funny, but because something finally felt right. He leaned back in his chair, let the phone fall into his lap, and for the first time in a long time, he wasn't bracing for impact. He was preparing to arrive. Thanksgiving in Queen Anne was always a production. Amber's parents went all out white candles silverware that needed polishing wine glasses no one under 35 was allowed to touch. Josh knew the layout by heart. The double door entry, the foyer with the mirror, the living room where Amber always held court. This time he didn't come alone. He and Claire pulled up right at 2:00. On time, not early, not late, intentional. Claire wore navy blue. Nothing flashy, but elegant. Josh wore the shirt Amber once said made him look too working class. He wore it anyway. They walked up the path in silence. Claire's hand in his. Warm. Steady. From the window they saw her first. Amber. Laughing. Holding a glass of wine, talking to relatives who didn't really listen, just nodded and smiled. Then she looked up. Her face changed. First confusion, then recognition, then the kind of rage you can't hide behind Chardonnay. By the time Josh and Claire reached the door, Amber was already there. "What is this?" Josh looked at her calmly. Didn't flinch. Didn't smile. "You said I was the backup plan." He glanced at Claire. "Turns out I was just in the wrong family." Amber stared at them like she couldn't compute the image. Josh, Claire, together. This is a joke, right? Nobody laughed. The room fell quiet. Even the turkey seemed to stop roasting. Amber's dad shifted uncomfortably. Her mom blinked twice. Cousin Maddie slowly lowered her wine glass. Josh stepped forward. Still calm. Still in control. "You once said I was your safe choice. Your backup plan." Amber scoffed. "You're twisting." Josh held up his phone. Tapped the screen. Amber's voice filled the room. Crystal clear. "He's not the one, okay. He's just the backup plan. Reliable, safe, but not exciting. I'm a player, not a settler." Gasps. Shifting feet, eyes darting. Amber's face drained of color. "You recorded me seriously." Claire spoke up. "You lied for months, Amber. You were planning to dump him after dinner. Remember, manage the optics." A murmur moved through the room. Amber turned, looking for an ally. Anyone. No one met her gaze. Her aunt shook her head. Amber's brother looked at Josh and gave a slow nod. Josh didn't gloat. Didn't say "I told you so." He just looked at Claire, reached for her hand, and whispered, "Let's eat." Amber's mouth opened. "You don't understand the pressure I've been under." No one responded. It wasn't meant to come out like that. "Josh, you were just there." Her voice cracked. Eyes scanned the room for sympathy. None. Claire looked down. Not with pity, but peace. Amber stepped closer. "Josh, I can explain. What we had," Josh raised a hand, not to silence her, just to stop the past from trying again. "We had something, past tense, and now I have peace. Please don't make this ugly." Amber stood frozen, in her own house, surrounded by family, yet more alone than ever. Josh turned toward the dining room. Amber's uncle clapped his hand on Josh's shoulder as he passed. No words, just respect. Amber's younger cousin gave Claire a small thumbs up. Subtle, but felt. And when Josh and Claire reached the door, a quiet ripple of acknowledgement followed them. Not applause, but something like it. The kind that doesn't need hands, just understanding. Outside, the air was crisp. Claire laced her fingers through his. "How do you feel?" she asked. Josh smiled, breathing deeply. Lighter. 1 year later, Josh stood in the kitchen of their new place in Bellingham, Washington. Morning light spilled through the windows. Claire hummed softly from the living room, folding tiny onesies into a dresser drawer. They were expecting their first baby in spring. The walls were painted soft gray. The tools Josh once hid in boxes were now proudly hung in his garage workshop. He ran a small but thriving electrical business. Claire taught at a local school. Kids loved her. Peace didn't come all at once, but it stayed once it arrived. Josh still thought about Amber sometimes. Not with anger, just clarity. He'd heard through Claire's cousin that Amber had tried to reconnect, but the family had seen too much. Her job at the firm gone. Her new relationship over within months. She'd moved back into a rental near her parents, kept to herself. Josh didn't gloat, didn't feel superior. He just felt grateful. Grateful that he listened to the silence that told him enough. Grateful that he chose himself finally. And when Claire walked in smiling, holding a tiny blue beanie she'd just knitted, Josh kissed her forehead and whispered, "Funny how being someone's backup plan led me right to my forever." Sometimes being someone's backup plan isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their blindness. Amber didn't lose Josh because she made a single mistake. She lost him because she treated love like a ladder, always climbing, never standing still long enough to appreciate what she had. Josh didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't fight to be chosen. He simply chose himself, and that was the loudest answer of all. There's power in knowing when to walk away, not out of spite, but out of clarity. There's peace in understanding that someone else's inability to love you right doesn't mean you're unlovable. Amber had a strategy. Josh had sincerity. And in the long run, sincerity always wins. Claire didn't save him. She saw him. That was enough. So if you've ever been made to feel like a second option, a safe bet, maybe if nothing better comes along, remember this: you were never the backup. You were the upgrade, they just didn't recognize it in time. And maybe that's not your tragedy. Maybe that's your freedom. What about you? Have you ever found yourself in a relationship where you were treated like a placeholder instead of a person? Have you ever stayed too long just hoping they'd finally see your worth? Or maybe you were brave enough to walk away before they even realized what they lost. If you've lived that story or you're living it now, drop it in the comments. Someone out there needs to know they're not alone. And if this hit a little too close to home, share it with a friend. Tell us your story. Follow for more real-life revenge stories that aren't just about payback. They're about power, about peace. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting better. And walking away smiling.